Chip Zdarsky is an interesting character. He is, of course, one of the wokeites in the industry. He's one of those like soy boy men out there who blocks everybody and then blocks all their friends and blocks anybody who follows the wrong people. He's one of those people from Marvel and DC who's done exactly what they tell him to at every single step of the way. And, doesn't really like the fans at the end of the day either. His current Batman run is something, of course, that's just completely amiss. It's like Batman in his head creating robot Batmen who are perfect Batmen, fighting himself. It's like a multiverse, but without the multiverse. It's really a train wreck. And of course, his Gotham War event was just a big letdown before that as well. He also was, of course, responsible a couple years ago for making a miniseries where he implied that Batman is actually bisexual. So this is what they're doing. It's one of the people who are in there like Tom Taylor, Tom King, just subverting everything in comics. And of course, he gave an interview finally admitting that comics are in trouble, but it's not his fault. Of course not. Never could be. Let's get into the news in just a moment. My name's John Delarose. I'm a #1 best-selling author, an award-winning comic creator who's been blacklisted from Marvel and DC. It's amazing. I can win awards. I can put out monthly books. I can hit schedules. I can do everything better than these people, and yet I'm blacklisted. It's all about politics, guys. The mainstream industry is one of the most political, crappy places out there, and that's why we do our commentary here. I'm glad you're joining us. Hit the like and subscribe button, and I hope you'll be a part of our community, of course. I also hope you'll support our projects. This is All Eyes on Ashley. Now, I'm doing a romance story, and before you tune out of this, there's action in this too. This is from a young man's perspective named Spencer, who's going after a gal who's out of his league. Now, if you want to look at this, of course, they've feminized romance across the genre, but romance is really a men's thing. It's all about pursuing women, right? And if you look at Peter Parker and what he did back in the day, if you look at Superman and Lois and all that, those were very much romance stories which were geared towards men, and that's why they were popular. That's what Stan Lee did. He mastered that soap opera sort of thing. So we're bringing it back, and we are doing it correctly, and you're going to absolutely love this book. It's got great art on it by Injustice's Mike S. Miller. It's got my wonderful writing on it, and I hope you'll back this today. The link's in the description below. Let's get into Chip Zdarsky's comments here. He did an interview yesterday, which we watched on our live stream if you missed it. And this is him kind of looking like, oh gosh, what am I doing here? And he admitted that the comic industry's got a lot of problems. Now, this has been going on over the last couple years. And of course, the things that have changed lately is these pros used to not admit there were problems whatsoever. Now that this guy came out here, Glenn from his, I think it's Comic Paradise, talking about that there's actually real problems going on in the comic industry. Is these self-insert characters. Nobody wants to read them. Nobody wants to buy them. It's killing their business. It sparked a discussion. Now, I say discussion, but the pros just went out there going, this guy is a chud, bleh, and they started mocking him, except for Mark Miller. Mark Miller defended this guy, and he defended a bunch of different people who were retailers who were having the same message. He had them all on their channel, and of course, the industry had a big black eye on it. Since this point, they've kind of been admitting that there's been problems in the industry finally. So we have Chip Zdarsky out here doing exactly this. I asked him a question in the chat yesterday and about, do you think that self-inserts are actually killing the industry? Very interesting. He says, I didn't see example of that. Yeah, like a self-insert, there's no Chip Zdarsky in the comics. You write what you know. That is an interesting way of phrasing things. You write what you know. We've seen way too many self-inserts. Mariko Tamaki, of course, is most famous for putting the I am not Starfire. I don't need to pull the graphic of this up. It's like this frumpy chick who, for some reason, is a daughter of Starfire. It's definitely about Mariko Tamaki, and you can tell it is. Even when she went over to Supergirl, Supergirl stopped doing super things, and she sat around and whined about how she felt like she had imposter syndrome the entire issue. It was crazy. This is what these people are doing. It's not fun. People don't want to read this when they get into their superhero comics. It's very obvious. But unfortunately, of course, Chip Zdarsky is turning a blind eye to it because he has to. He's part of the shill establishment, so it's not like he's going to go out there and be like, yeah, there's a little too much of that. Now, we reported last week also that Ultimate X-Men is going to be launching next month. And what did Peach Momoko say about this? That it's going to be a self-insert. It's going to be about her in junior high. It's not even about the X-Men. Wolverine and Cyclops aren't even going to be in it. What? absolutely crazy. So it is causing problems here. Chip Zdarsky is absolutely lying through his teeth, is what we see. Now, here it is. But what he says is the problems in comics are a myriad right now. It means there's a lot of problems in comics, and he is just not even able to scratch the surface of it. And of course, there are. Most of it's coming from, of course, the woke nonsense in the mainstream industry. These people who act like Chip Zdarsky, who put themselves up on pedestal, block everybody who actually reads their books, and then doesn't take any criticism whatsoever. It's a big problem. That's the main thing. The stories are the problem. People don't want these stories. There's so many ways that the industry is being harmed and is having trouble kind of recovering. It's facing challenges, he says. Well, at least he's admitting the first step, that there are problems in the industry, that the industry is dying. But gosh, it should be something much, much more than this. So what does Chip Zdarsky say it is? If it's not the bad woke storytelling, if it's not the lack of editorial oversight, if it's not this kind of crap being thrown into X-Men comics, what is it, Chip Zdarsky? Well, he says it's COVID. He says people just got out of the habit of going to comic shops because of COVID. Huh? Well, problems were happening well before COVID. The comic industry was having massive issues even back then. We saw rumors of DC Comics shutting down. They've been having to relaunch every couple of years, even back before COVID started, because of their poor sales. The only thing that actually sells is Batman, and that's not just based on Chip Zdarsky's great work or anything like that. It's based on the fact that it just says Batman on it. DC will slap Batman as a name onto anything these days because that's the only thing that their brand has to offer at this point. But the industry is a problem. They've had the same people running around in these whisper networks over and over and over again, lambasting fans, blaming the fans, blaming them, calling them bigots, blocking them all the time, not listening to feedback, telling bad stories over and over and over again, and nobody's listening. It's Rome burning, and Chip Zdarsky is just fiddling. Very sad. Leave a comment down below with what you think about this. Hit that like and subscribe button, my friends. Make sure to back the alternative to the mainstream industry right here. All Eyes on Ashley. We had a great launch, and this is a fantastic book. I really am excited to get this into your hands. I'll see you guys soon.